Hey guys, and welcome to the Firestaff VG Hive of the Gorgons raid video. I've been asked about this a lot because people have seen me run this earlier in the season, and they've also seen me run it a couple times in the later season. The later bit of, well, can't really say the later bit of the season because there's still 2 months, but recently. Now, before I even tell you anything about this, I'm just going to say this now. I fully acknowledge that to the PvE mains out there, I fully acknowledge that the Firestaff and VG as a combo is not the most ideal thing, and that they should be on a bleed rapier or an evade rapier, skewer spear, something like that. That being said, this will get the job done, and it is something I have used to complete the raid. And you know, some people just want to use it, and if it gets it done, then it gets it done. So that's going to be the build that I show today. But I'm just starting the video with, I'm very aware that this is, this isn't a tier 1 build. So we're just putting that out there. I tried to optimize this as much as humanly possible. I'm sure I missed some things, but I wanted to hit everything possible, I guess. I myself don't even have this. So when I put this together, I basically made it as if golden materials were not an issue. So you're going to notice with the attributes up here, just a quick little spoiler, we are on attuned leather pants. Attribute wise, you're always going to be 500 int. Your Firestaff scales off of intelligence, you're always going to be 500 int. Your VG also scales off of int. You're not primarying the VG, that's why we don't have extra focus. We're taking 25 dex for the crit chance. We are taking 25 focus for the CDR because we're doing a very heavy CDR, as you can see refreshing down here. We're taking the 25 con because we're using attuned leather pants. We might as well make use of the 25 con. And I believe this is enough attribute points to hit the 50 strength. People have asked me in the past if you could hit 50 strength, and usually the cost of it is some form of constitution and stuff like that. But in this situation, this will actually help because you're doing a lot of heavy attacks. Now you'll notice up here at the top, it'll say points 104. I have no idea why it says 104 points, why you can still hit these things and then still be able to do 125 con. That doesn't sound right. I don't think attuned leather pants are that good. So I just put in the bare minimum of what you need to hit, right? So I have no idea why it says 104 points. If you actually get another 104 points, then I don't even know. Maybe you take the extra damage while you're at full, maybe the extra healing. Maybe not that one. No. So yeah, you probably just take these 3 down here. I don't know why it says that. It doesn't make any sense. But make sure you hit at least 50, 25, 500, 25, 25. Right? You're going to be low con. Consumables. Since this is a PvE video, we will be talking about that a little bit. First off, at the bottom here, you want your 3 major Angry Earth trophies. This is always going to be needed. The mobs are Angry Earth, so it makes sense. Consumable wise, you're going to have health pot, regen pot. I put a mana potion here. Just in case you ever have an issue with mana. Realistically, you shouldn't with the way that I built the Firestaff and the VG. But that doesn't mean that you won't ever have mana problems. So you just have this here as a little bit of a backup. I left this slot open for any damage reduction that won't override your ward pot, because if you use like a nature absorption potion, that'll override your Angry Earth potion. So I don't know, maybe you would put oak flesh here or gemstone. Really don't know. It's kind of just open, so you fill that in with whatever won't override this. Food buff wise, 48 food, Desert Sunrise, Honing Stone, Coating, Ward Pot, the standard. And yep, let's get into the skill trees that I was using. So I made a little bit of an edit here because I've done a few runs where basically if you were optimizing stuff, you don't need all of it. And I was trying to make, how do you get the most out of the Firestaff? So What we did is we took a couple passives over here. We at least got the extra damage, a little bit of fortify. I mean, it's a little bit of armor. It helps. A little bit of tankiness. Who cares? And the effect of your smolder lasts longer. You may ask, why does that matter if you're constantly hitting the boss? There may be moments where you got to move and you just let the smolder stick on the target for a little bit. You know, there are also trash mobs, right? And then the rest of it is all over here. You at least take the grit because there are stagger abilities, and the grit is very nice. Now, I'm aware that some people are also going to tell me take Incinerate because it has the weaken on it at least, but you're not playing that close with this build. Technically on the second boss, you are playing close enough to get Incinerate value, but on the first and the third boss, you're a lot more like actually ranged. And again, I know Rapier is better, melee is better, but this is how, you know, we're running it. Plus, most of the time, there's usually a Firestaff secondary to some Rapier, and they'll usually be running this. So, again, this is what you've seen me run, so this is what I will show you here. The Void Gauntlet tree, I'm going to be real with you. You need Oblivion, you need Tether, you need Essence Rupture, whatever is right here. I don't take these passives because they scale with focus, and I mean, you have 25 focus, who cares? Of the passives that matter over here, there's a couple that if you crit, that would really only be Baleful Tether and Essence Rupture. You know, the mana cost one is nice. The other ones don't really matter. You're not like going full aggressive, so I just kind of took passives, which are also not heavy attacking here. So Glimpse of the Void is also not, you know, needed. But this mainly helps with your team Empower. This one's mainly here as like a weaken, but it also gives you Empower. You'll also notice that up here there's a lot of Empower, but not all of it is active at the same time. And then Essence Rupture is amazing because it gives 25% base damage to hostile AI targets, which is fantastic. If you have a Void Gauntlet, you need Essence Rupture. That is just, I mean, 25 base. That's literally over here, a pillar with 5 stacks. So, I mean, you could just Essence Rupture and pillar, and you get the same effect of 5 stacking Smolder and then pillaring. So then you can 5 stack Smolder, pillar, and have Essence Rupture. I've seen some crazy numbers on bosses with that. Moving on over to the gear. Again, we are doing Attuned Leather Pants, and again, I optimized this for as much damage as humanly possible. So we got Fire Harnessing on everything. Again, spoiler on the boots, it's here too. And then we got the classic for PvE is the Enchanted Ward. The Attuned Leather Pants have LE aversion locked in. It is what it is. Same with the boots, Enchanted Ward. And so I put one refreshing here on the helmet. It doesn't actually matter what piece it goes on, if I'm being real. You just have to hit 4 out of 4 refreshing. The Attuned Leather Pants already has a refreshing. And just real quickly, I will spoil that the other 2 refreshing are on the jewelry. So what we did with the extra slot here was instead of taking any conditionings, we took some extra damage. Because again, you want to do damage, you got to make at least the Firestaff worth running. While you're main handing it is Empowering Meteor Shower. This is part of your Empower stacks that are up here. Similar to my PvP build, this is essential if you're running Meteor Shower to keeping your Empower up. Now, the Nullifying Oblivion perk, a lot of people only look at the first part of it is when you remove buffs. I have zero idea, and I've never tested it, if Nullifying Oblivion works on any of the boss buffs. I know Nullifying Oblivion used to work in Glacial Tarn, stripping the boss of the Fortify when the boss did the green orb mechanic. So I have zero idea if this works in the Hive of the Gorgon. But the main reason that we have it here is because it also has a, you know, it has a little bit of a cooldown reduction here. Which is, you know, it's going to allow you to have that extra 10%. Sorry, I was reading it. I was making sure it did exactly what I thought it was doing. But yeah, it gives you 10% reduction on Oblivion, so you just have a higher Oblivion uptime, and that's why you have that perk. And then Fireball, we just slammed it on the boots because there's no spot for it on the Firestaff with what we did put there. And And yeah, so we just put in Fireball. It's extra damage. Now, for the main part of the raid, until you get to the nature damage portion of the raid, which is basically Medusa, even though I'm going to be completely real with you, she doesn't really hit you with that much nature damage. But for the most part, you're going to have a Strike Ammy, Health Strike, and then Empowered, because again, you have a bunch of timed Empowereds. So you want to extend them with Empowered. I looked at all the other amulet perks. This one's just the best. It extends your Ellie Band. It extends your Meteor Shower. And yeah, Strike Prot. This is what you want for a majority of the dungeon. And I guess you could swap to a Nature Ammy for the last boss. But again, like, I'm going to be real. Whenever I'm doing it, I don't get hit by any nature damage. You kind of do. So I would just keep one in your inventory, a Nature Ammy. Elemental Band. So I'm going to tell you this real quick. This is the best for Firestaff. However, the reason you see Refreshing here, and I want to make this very clear, the only way that you're putting Refreshing on Elemental Band is if you have zero intention of ever PvPing with this. Now, my Elemental Band has Invigorated Punishment. Invigorated Punishment does not work in PvE, so I was thinking, what else works in PvE? There was nothing else on the ring that I actually was like, well, what would actually go here? You know what I mean? So I just put a Refreshing on here so I could squeeze in some weapon perks on the armor for extra damage and extra stuff. So that's the only reason that Refreshing is here. If you plan on doing PvP at all, don't put the Refreshing here. Just get rid of probably the Empowering Fireball. You just put the Refreshing here, and then you just use your PvP ring. It is what it is. It'll have Invig Dead perk in the raid. But if you have zero interest, you do this. Similar to the Gorgonite Earring, I put Refreshing on here. Fortifying Toast and Refreshing Toast is mandatory. I was thinking about Nimble, but at the same time, you do have a lot of stamina regain in Oblivion, as well as hitting targets with Essence Rupture. So the Nimble was kind of like, I don't know if you want it, and you definitely don't want regen. Regenerating, it helps generate aggro. And that means you'll start pulling aggro. And you don't want that, so I just threw the extra Refreshing on here, again, to make room for the weapon perks and stuff. Gem-wise, we have all Onyxes because there are other physical sources of damage. Some of the bosses do Slash, some of the mobs do Thrust. There's a lot of Strike, that's why you have Strike here. There's just a lot of physical damage going around, and so that's why you have all Onyxes. And so your resistances will end up looking like this up here. You're going to have a lot of Strike, and you're going to have a decent amount of Slash, Thrust, and standard damage. And that does matter. The standard damage right here, the little swords crossing, does actually matter. There are standard damage attacks. So that's why you do the Onyxes. And again, you just do Nature Amulet with, maybe you swap out the Earring for something that's literally the same thing with an Amber in it. I've never done any more than that nature protection wise. So on to the Firestaff. How I set this up, again, this Firestaff is purely for pumping DPS in the raid. Disdain Affliction just cannot be beat. Right now, this is a top tier perk. And also the fact that, like, at least in the PvE, this is supposed to work. You deal 5% base damage to the hostiles inflicted with dots. You're always applying a dot, and it's going to make your dots do more. The Firestaff has a lot of those, and you just keep them ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking. You're also going to notice we have a weird combo here in Refreshing Move and Refreshing Pillar of Fire. The combination of these two basically make it to where you can basically go heavy attack, Pillar of Fire, heavy attack, Pillar of Fire, and you can just get in this infinite rhythm of heavy attack, Pillar of Fire, heavy attack, Pillar of Fire. And it also, that Refreshing Move in combination with your 4 Refreshing, as well as this Refreshing right here on the Fireball and this Refreshing in the tree, you just have permanent abilities up. And again, that's what you want. You want to have the abilities up as much as possible. This does not hurt your damage whatsoever. Because again, unlike PvP, where in PvP you need as much burst as humanly possible, this is burst in PvE. This won't work in PvP because players are dodging, players are blocking, players are getting healed, mobs are not. They're kind of just standing there aggroed on the tank. So that's why this combo will work. Also, Lifetaker, again, don't do this upgrade if you plan to use Lifetaker for PvP. If you don't, I put refreshing rupture on it because when you hit a target with rupture, it almost cuts the cooldown in half. The cooldown being, does it even say on here? I don't think it even says the cooldown on here. Awesome. But yeah, it reduces the cooldown, meaning that you have the higher uptime on this 25% base damage, which is absolutely huge. And as well as the stamina gain, which really, honest to God, this helps your melee players where they can hit, dodge, and stuff like that. So that's why I put refreshing rupture. Again, if you're using some of these items for PvP as well, don't. But if you plan to use this for PvE, you know, this is the option that I would use. Heart Rune as well, you're going to see that we have the Cunning Cannon Blast. This is the one that doesn't have any reduction in damage. This is going to be the third. This is going to be good for the third, not third, although you probably can. This is good for the first boss because the first boss has a stamina bar that you have to break. Cannon Blast is really good at breaking stamina. So you're going to use Cannon Blast. This one, and the size of the first boss, you should not be missing that. And yeah, this one does full damage. I mean, it only says 600 here. It's higher than that, of course. Yeah, it does a lot of damage. It's really good for the first boss. Second boss, I would recommend going something like Vines because you want to be able to lock down the Corvids. And I guess technically you could bring this back out for the third boss because you can use this to help range down the blooms that are up top. And yeah, so... But I wouldn't use this one on the second boss because, again, you just want to have the vines. You want to lock down those Corvids as quick as possible. And I've tried cannon blasting Corvids. That ain't it, man. That ain't it. Real quick, back to the gems. You'll also notice my favorite, the Sighted Rune Glass. I know you guys always comment on why do I use Sighted. But that's because right now, since Elemental Band exists in the first place... is that we are able, with all this other Empower right here, we are able to hit Empower cap very easily, right? Like, it is so easy to hit Empower cap. You can already see how some of it is possible right here. And that's not even including the Empower from, like, standing in your own Oblivion and Tether. I mean, like, you have Empower everywhere. Right, so you can afford to take this, and your ranged attacks deal 1%. This is base damage. So again, you're increasing your base damage by 5%, which, you know, if you use the Elemental Rune Glass, which would be the ignited one, similar to the PvP build, you know, you're missing out on some extra damage in a spot that you didn't need it. And that's how I would do it. Again, you can see the title up here. Sorry, PvE mains. It's my fault if they run it. Again, I'll say it again at the end of the video. Like, listen, I get it. I know it's not the most optimal thing out there. But a lot of people were curious of, you know, of what I've been running whenever they see me run Firestaff VG. Now, I don't have all of this on my main account. I don't even have this on my alt account. Although, to be fair, I've been treating my alt like my main lately. Basically, this is what I would do if I had unlimited gold, right? If I could just, boom, craft it, done. This is how I would run it. This is how, based off of my playstyle in the raid, if I'm using these weapons and I'm not playing Evade Rapier like I should be, then that's how I would set it up. So, I hope you guys really enjoy. When this video goes out, or by the time you see it, I'm probably going to be doing another raid, 50-50 if you see me using this. But if I am, now you'll know what I'm using. And yeah, that is going to be what we do here. Now, for the most part, I probably will be doing Evade Rapier. So whenever you see me on stream and I'm, you know, not playing this, that's the evade rapier. And if you really want, I'll make an evade rapier build as well. Now, I will have to say real quick, I'm more of a PvPer, so I will have to ask, one of my friends for some, tips and advice on a actual PvE build. But for the most part, this is what I run. And, again, the PvE mains, you may not like it, but it does get the job done. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, you can catch me live on Twitch. Links in the description. And you might see me using this. I tend to use it on the last boss a lot because I don't have a musket to go with my rapier. And yeah, you can ask me questions about it there. See what I'm doing. See if I made any changes. And I hope you guys enjoy. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.